7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome to the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here in studio. I got the Tonys on mic 1 and mic 2. We are sitting here in the middle of the week, kind of looking at tennis betting right now. It's kind of the way of these two weirdos. They just got into like a 20-minute match about all these different Australian Open players that I have no fucking clue who they are. So,
just a little over that.
Yeah, nevertheless, anything... Well, I know you guys are talking about doing an Australian Open pod, but like, what are you guys looking at? Since there's not a lot to bet here on a Wednesday night, especially after basketball and hockey, you can have some midnight Australian action. What are you guys looking at?
Yeah, I mean, for the D-Gen in us, for sure. I mean, I see a lot of good matchups as well as a lot of big underdogs that probably shouldn't be as big as they are.
What about for like Thursday? Because that's when this is going to air.
That I don't know, because the matches that we're looking at, unfortunately, are going to be off before we air. So
I am posting them on Twitter right now.
Okay, well, Togan knows a lot more than I do about when these matches are taking place, so I'll let him kind of take control of that.
Fair enough.
I just don't know.
Well, we appreciate you listening in. This is the Vegas Squares podcast again. How did obviously we talked about football last weekend, but how's it been going in your quest to prep for championship weekends, guys?
Well, I'll say early on here, and this is I probably shouldn't be saying this on a nice sports betting podcast, but I've determined relatively early on that I don't think there's going to be any strong value found unless there's a late injury or something comes out maybe newsworthy.
Yeah,
I don't think there's going to be strong value in any of these spreads or any of these totals.
Yeah, I can honestly say I've looked at it. I mean, and last week I said, I almost wouldn't be shocked if I laid off and still had three big bets in. But this weekend obviously for purposes of our bet, we're going to be making,
of course,
we're going to be picking sides.
The show goes on, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but for, you're right. For a sports betting podcast to sit here and say, and it's okay to say, I don't know.
It is.
And like I said, sometimes just enjoying a weekend of football.
Agreed.
I can't remember the last time I was watching a football game, college or pro, and really had nothing of investment, whether it be with friends, whether it be actual bet, or even like a futures bet. I can't remember the last football game I've watched where, Token, I just had nothing of invested on it. Whether, obviously I've watched Patriots games with nothing, but even then, I'm watching other games with like the Red Zone channel, keeping up on that stuff. But what about you? Take your time there, Australian Open. Jesus.
Sorry, I've got to get this out to our one listener that follows us.
Who's sitting over here?
Yeah.
Which I will look at it.
We get somebody from Canada listening.
He's going to get a Token Tony has tweeted. Speaking of, turn all your electronic devices off.
They're muted. Professionalism.
Yeah, of course, I was the unprofessional one last week.
You dropped the phone right on the button.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
But
I'll give you that one.
The question really poses, is it okay to really look at a slate and not feel like you're forced to have something? Again,
yes,
we're gonna have our picks because like Tony said, the show must go on. And we have a $50 investment. And I guess just having the $50 investment's probably even going to be good enough for me maybe this weekend, because, obviously we're doing it throughout the playoffs. This weekend it's 3 points per pick, so their total of 12 can move one way or the other. So, I don't know. What are your early thoughts on these games, Token? Just
like you, I'm just confused. I have little leans, but I always kind of switch them back. Literally, in my mind, I know this is cliche, but it can go either way.
Yeah, it really can. Yeah, all four of these teams are capable.
These are going to be tough ones to bet. I said that about last week. Of course, I did bad, which I was expecting not to do as good as week number 1.
You did average, just Spike and I did better.
Yeah,
Yeah, overall, I think the group did actually quite well for.
I think if you actually took every bet that if you could take any individual of the three of us and you take all the bets, I don't know about Spike. I think he would have lost money in week 1 and not been able to catch up in week 2. But maybe
It's close, though.
I'd be slightly ahead.
But you and
10
I-
out of 16 in my picks.
yeah.
And you would be, I think,
I am
11 of 16.
Well, no, I have. Yeah, so
Because you're 6
I went,
of 8 week 2, and week 1, I think you were
I went
5
4
of,
for. I went 4 for 8.
Oh, so 10 of 16.
So I'd be 10 and 16. So that's above the juice, right? Especially
10 and 6.
Yeah,
especially
slightly.
then, since we're picking 110 odds on
Yeah.
everything. I mean,
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
give or take. Like I
Yeah.
said, I don't know if
Decent winner. Yeah, for sure.
Spike would have been 3 for 8 the first week and 6 for 8 the next week. He didn't go 6 for 8. Did he?
No, he had 5. I thought he was one less than you, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he has 13 points like Token. So,
Right.
anyways, we appreciate you listening. Obviously, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, not just sports betting. We're just going to talk about sports in general, usually on these midweek podcasts. We want to thank our sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, VGK Pop Sockets, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, and our newest sponsor, Vegas Puckline Apparel. Give all those guys a shout out on Twitter, Chai Poker. Let's see, what else do we have? VGK Pop. Eric on the Web is actually just Eric on the Web. So, anyways, and then obviously
Lines?
Vegas Puckline is Vegas
Yeah.
Puckline, and then
Yeah.
12 Ounce Sports is 12 Ounce Sports. So
Yeah.
those are pretty easy to find on Twitter. Got some things in the works hopefully with a new station that's joining 12 Ounce in a collaboration called Barn Burner Network. They're mostly a Canadian based network, so hoping for good things, maybe a partnership up with them, maybe get some Canadians into the betting. Although, do we have to change the way we talk sports betting to the decimal system with them?
Start adding U's into words and stuff.
I mean, it's.
Got beat by the hook, eh?
I mean, it's not awful how the decimal system is. It's just not accustomed to.
I never knew the Dewey
most-
decimal system, so I don't think I can know the betting decimal system. That's going to be.
It's not accustomed to most, I would say, overseas bettors.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of overseas is still
Decimal.
the way is it decimal?
I believe
So we're
it's
the
decimal.
weird
Yeah.
weird ones.
Yes.
Or there's an Asian system as well, too, where it kind of breaks down all of the different numbers you can create. So, like, it'll break down every point spread and have a money line-ish sort
I guess
of thing.
I'm glad I bet here.
Wow.
It already seemed
Yeah.
hard enough just here.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely.
the decimal system makes somewhat sense. So.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. I actually
You'll
like
have to educate me on that
You
one
just
day.
have to convert it.
Because if we become part of this Barn Burner Sports, then we may have to convert.
Yeah, well, we'll convert.
I mean, it's not that hard.
How long did it take you to figure out betting? Like, let's just kind of bring it back to the core. Like, for me, it took probably a good 5 to 6 months to figure out plus and minus, just in that part.
Yeah, I would say about the same for me on that line.
And the spreads, and I actually used to think, like,
The spread was easy for me. I knew how much to bet to make how much and what I needed to win by or more.
yeah, no, but I'm saying, like, in the beginning, like, the first, I don't know, like, day or two when I was betting, I always thought, okay, let's just say hypothetically the spread's 7.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought at the end of the game you subtracted 7 from the favorite and added 7. Not, obviously you do one or the other. You don't. I used to think you do both, and I'm like, why am I not covering?
Oh,
The 14-point swing.
yeah, like a 14-point
Yeah.
swing. Maybe that's what got me so interested in 14-point teasers.
Ah, there it is. Now we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back to the roots.
That's what I'm expecting you to do this week. I already had written that down. I think that you may not make a decent wager, but I'm guessing you're going to make this a little 14-point teaser, be my guess.
I can tell you this with almost certainty from not the prop bet perspective, but from my personal bankroll perspective. I think I'm leaning towards just a happiness hedge
Okay.
on the Chiefs.
Fair
Obviously, you guys know I'm a Patriots fan, and it'd be great to see him in 3 straight Super Bowls. So I'll take the happiness hedge spot in there with the Chiefs and be happy either way.
There you go.
But what Super Bowl matchup? Obviously, we know mine. What Super Bowl matchup do you guys most want to see, since you don't have a dog necessarily in the fight?
Yeah, mine for sure is, and it's not just because this is what I'd hopefully predicted back in week 4 or 5 when we did this, but it's Kansas City versus the LA Rams, and it's mostly just because I want to see sort of the old guard versus new guard, offensive minds with Andy Reid and Sean McVay, who do things actually in a relatively similar fashion in regards to play calling and the offensive design in the field, but yet they go about it 2 totally different ways, it seems like, during the week. So I think that's fascinating in that aspect. And they're also just teams we haven't seen before. I like to see new blood and new teams and just again, not having a dog in the fight, it's just kind of nice to see teams we haven't seen before. I enjoy the game, so I like to see sort of new stuff like that. And then the third reason I think would be it's more likely a high-scoring kind of fun game. I don't see the Super Bowl. I try not to get too serious about it because I know it's a bit of a fandom kind of sort of fun
It's
entity.
more of an event than a football game.
Really, yeah, exactly. So I think that'll be kind of a fun aspect of it. Two young quarterbacks that can play. I just think that'd be the most fun game I think out of the all of them.
Yeah, as a Lions fan, I don't know what the fuck the Super Bowl is, so.
You know what it is. You just you don't know what it's like to have a lion in there.
One place the Lions never been.
That is true.
amazing.
They have never been to the
incredible.
Super Bowl, but they're not the only ones, right? There's a couple.
There's a few.
probably a
We've
couple,
won one playoff game since like 1960. I'm going the other way as you, Tony. I'm going with both old quarterbacks in this. Drew
Okay.
Brees against Brady.
You want the old guard? Okay.
Yep. I think both these offenses are a good matchup. Pretty equal teams. I think if it comes down to a spread, it's 1 point either way, and I think New England would be the favorite. Both
I don't know about that, but
both about average defenses.
I think Will Hill and Westgate already have the Patriots as dogs to both teams. I could be wrong, but I think I remember William Hill.
Slight, I think, yeah.
William Hill was slight dogs. They were slight dogs to both teams.
Yeah, just
Things
be
can
interesting
change,
to see that matchup. Two MVP candidates, I would say Brees is the higher MVP candidate this year, but can never count on the GOAT. So
Yeah, Brady won't be in the MVP discussion this year, I don't think. But you're right. He like you said, you never can count him out. It's going to be an interesting couple of games. I mean, you're going to have the opening game. Correct me if I'm wrong. The NFC Championship is first, correct? Mm-hmm. You're going to have the opening game played in a dome, obviously perfect weather, no issues, and then you're going to have that night game played around 4, 5, 6 in the evening, and its temperatures are now. It's already come down from 9. Temperatures are now expected to be close to negative.
Saw that, yeah.
Oh,
Really cold. Yeah.
how do you think that impacts?
shorts and t-shirt weather.
How do you think that impacts Arrowhead? Because shut the fuck up. Arrowhead has been long known as a tough place to play. But when the fans are too cold to cheer, that could create a problem.
They still need some hot chocolate and some coffee.
They need a hot chocolate bath. I mean, I don't think hot chocolate's going to work. That's just going to freeze in their veins.
It's a strong-willed fan base. Having lived in the area, I lived there for about 3 or 4 years. It's really the fan base I can tolerate the most in excessive droves. Because usually you get
I will say that is true. Yeah.
the super fans of most teams are really you don't really want to deal with them for the most part.
Nuts.
Yeah, but these fans are pretty knowledgeable and. It's a good bunch overall. I think that again, not to harp back to the Lions, but this is a team, the Chiefs team, that isn't in games like this very often. This is a very, very big rarity for them to be in a championship, an AFC championship game, and I think they will come out in droves, and it'll be about as loud as it normally is.
Trivia question for you. I'll start with you, Token, see if you get the first answer. Before that win against the Colts, can you name the last starting quarterback to win a home playoff game for Kansas City? Do you know this one, Tony Johnson?
I don't.
I know it's not Alex Smith.
Dead air is great.
Yeah.
Just guess.
No, I have no idea.
A fellow by the name of Joe Montana.
Was
He was the last
what was
quarterback.
that, 93?
93.
Okay.
Last quarterback to win a
I thought I
home
knew
playoff.
the year. I just couldn't remember the name.
It's crazy though, right? I mean, you're talking about
surprising.
not that often to be there. And then when they are, they come up short. I mean, look at last year when they blew that lead to Tennessee. I mean, talk about clock and offensive management. I mean,
that was big. Yeah.
that's going to be the big thing with Andy Reid. And I really think the big thing with Andy Reid, the word that comes to mind with him this weekend is legacy. Because I think his legacy will be drastically pulled in one direction after this weekend. Win, you're in the Super Bowl, you beat Belichick, you have probably the MVP. Lose, and it's just the same old story. Can't win, can't get there. How many times did he lose in the NFC Championship with the Philadelphia Eagles before he finally got to the Super Bowl? I'm just saying. I feel like his legacy is going to be dragged one way or the other.
He might need 2 wins here. He might need this one and the Super Bowl too. To be honest,
He doesn't have a ring yet, does he?
No, he's only been in 1 with Philly.
And they lost to New England.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be. I don't know. That's kind of
You're talking about legacies. There's no doubt. This is a very, very important one. Whether Andy cares or not, that's whatever.
He's not thinking about it, I don't think.
No, certainly. But
it's in the back of his head for sure. But
I don't know if I mean, maybe. But the problem is it's just like, it isn't the situation where he's just getting beat. I feel like sometimes he's beating himself.
Mm-hmm. No question. He's always been a subpar in-game, late in-game coach. He's made mistakes, many in the past, and my guess is he probably knows that as well. And we'll see. I see if we see any sort of correction. But as you said, with the Tennessee game last year, it was the clock management, especially on offense, and some of the play calls that were made. Third and short. I remember, late in the third quarter where they threw some sort of odd pass play, with the clock stopping and having a punt. And after they're getting 6-7 yards of carry in that game early on, it was a surprising sort of deal. So yeah, we'll see. I think that'll be one of the telltale signs. It's one of the reasons I think for the New England backers out there, both for fans and for bettors, is you're sort of hoping and counting on
a
more
mental aspect to the game too.
Absolutely, yeah, because we know New England will not really make many. I mean, they make rarely, a few, but it's pretty rare for them. So
yeah, and I mean, obviously, like I said, you already know who I want to advance in the AFC, but I want the Rams to advance in the NFC. I just love the storyline of Boston kicking LA's ass. That's always my big thing. I mean, the Red Sox beat the Dodgers this year. Celtics, Lakers. Boston beating LA is just a step under Boston beating anything New York. So, and to me, that's the Super Bowl matchup I want to see. Although it's tough to want Breeze with all the weapons, but I would love to see Breeze get back there too, like you said, the old guards and kind of see if one wins, will they go out on the sunset? That's kind of an interesting one too. Who would be more likely, Breeze or Brady, to ride off in the sunset after winning the Super Bowl? I mean, they both could realistically play at a high level next year. Yeah. They both probably want to. But, I mean, if you could see one of them right now in your back of your mind, if you could, you ever do that? You ever close your eyes and you think you can see something? That's what. Which one do you see more than likely walking off into the sunset?
I would say Breeze.
Breeze?
Yeah.
I mean, Breeze
by just a little. I mean, I don't see either of them calling it quits after this year. But
I mean, you look at it. Breeze gets one, 8 years into his career, and then hypothetically he could get one, 18 years into his career?
Something around there, yeah.
God, if you're the Chargers, are you kicking yourself? I mean, you can't be because he was hurt and average at the time, but I mean, just think the what ifs.
I just don't think he will have worked with their system as well. So
at the time, I mean, he was actually on the rise. He got hurt.
He was, yeah.
And they drafted Phillip Rivers and almost forced him in, and then they actually got lucky by Breeze getting hurt as the scapegoat to saying, well, look, we got to make the move. Mm-hmm. But I mean, who actually? Okay, let me say this: who feels worse, the Chargers or the Dolphins?
Oh, the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Chargers ended up with a quality quarterback, so I
still no rings. But yeah.
Right.
The Dolphins ended up. Could you imagine Breeze and Brady going at it twice a year?
Yeah,
for the last decade.
That would have been a lot of fun.
Sick, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
who comes out alive in that?
I'm looking for the Boston-LA matchup just to see. Hopefully, the Patriots beat down. But any four of these matchups would be great. I actually think the worst of them all would be and it's not even a bad matchup, but just KC New Orleans doesn't feel like it to me. I don't know something about it. But yeah, let's kind of shift gears here and talk about the team that just got eliminated. And you called it. You nailed it on the head. And I felt like it would be that, even though I don't agree with it. Token and Spike both said Foles, but Peterson's actually come out and said that they're going with Wentz going forward. I don't agree with it, but I get it. What are your initial thoughts with this? I mean, this is basically playing right up your alley. You said that this is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, that notwithstanding, I think going forward for Nick Foles, obviously we know, when Carson gets healthy, and if he's not healthy right now, I'm sure he'll be ready by the start of next season. I think that the answer for Nick Foles is not easy. I don't think it's a simplistic sort of deal. My guess is that there will not be a huge market, or at least a market with a ton of teams, for him, because he's going to command, major starter money. A legit contract, I would guess. He's young enough to where he can play out a real contract. And now with these guaranteed contracts becoming more in vogue, especially at the quarterback position, I think that will be where his agent is. And we already discussed, how good that contract is. So I'm sure his agent is pretty sound with what's going on. And to me, he's just proven to be a little bit too inconsistent. And for the market to be all over him. I do think there'll be a small handful of teams that will be willing to take a chance. Certainly, there always are with a quarterback. But to me, I don't think the market will be as large or as significant for Nick Foles as
Many
maybe
people
once
believe.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think the market may be there because of the lack of quarterbacks really in this situation. Like we talked about Kyler Murray, and we're going to talk about him a little bit here. Okay, great. Yeah, he could be a first-round pick, blah, blah, blah. He's a 5'9" quarterback.
Right.
Okay, Dwayne Haskins has some maturing, and he has he's a little rough around the edges as far as a polished quarterback. There's no quarterback coming out here that's Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning. There's not. And there's not even a quarterback coming out that can really probably start early.
Right.
So he makes a lot of sense. I mean, he makes a lot of sense for teams that could trade for him and still draft a quarterback relatively early. I mean, I think the market for him, everybody disagrees with me in this, and I don't even really 100% agree with myself, but I really honestly think the Giants should really take a long, hard look at him. I get, what Eli has done for you in 2007 and 2011, but God, I mean, you cannot waste the years that you're paying Saquon and Odell. These are the years you're paying. I mean, they already signed. I mean, I think Saquon's making like $8 or $9 million a year, which is high for a running back.
It's a big contract.
Yeah, and I think Odell's making what? We say 20? Close to 20?
It's close. Yeah, it's 18 and change, I believe, right?
Why waste all these years? No offense to Eli Manning, but why waste all these years?
I've been saying the same thing for a while. Yeah, Eli's been bad for now at least a few years, 2 or 3 years.
And I mean, at least Foles is an optimism. You know what you have.
Be a much better option than Eli for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, other options, just even in the division is, and they're not going to trade him in the division. But the Redskins. Who knows what Alex Smith's going to come back? Colt McCoy. Again, why would you trade him to the interdivision? Unless, I mean, they have to have obviously offer something that wows you. And I think Foles could fetch a late first. We probably disagree with that, but he could, just because of his market really never being higher.
I think if you trade him in a division, you have to get at least a late first, if not better.
Well, the only thing, I mean,
either that or that's
you're not trading him to the
best
Cowboys, so you're trading him to the Giants. You're getting what? I think they're a top 6 pick this year.
Yeah.
Could be a little lower. And the Redskins are probably in the teens because they started out pretty well.
About 14 or 15, something around there. Yeah.
But, I mean, look around. If you don't think Josh Rosen's ready, I mean, I think obviously Cliff Kingsbury is going to try to work with Josh Rosen. I mean, trading him to Arizona to back up, I mean, Foles is going to be the guy to be getting paid on the roster. So you have to look at spots where they have no quarterback or they have a quarterback that they're paying
Jacksonville.
cheap. Jacksonville's another one. Tampa is another one.
Miami won't be
Miami doesn't have a quarterback. I think they're moving on from Tannehill.
Yeah.
And I don't think Brock Lobster is the answer. I mean, I think if you're Nick Foles, if you want to play ball, then you've got to put your foot down and say, I got to go. But if you're cool just taking $20 million and holding a clipboard and seeing maybe if Carson Wentz can't make it to December, that's another option too. I mean,
or maybe the Eagles are going to go with the 2 quarterback system.
oh my God, I'm just sitting here saying, as a fat out of shape guy, I wouldn't mind $20 million to hold a clipboard.
Absolutely,
But I don't think anybody's offering me that anytime soon. But another actual spot, and you're going to disagree with me because I think you think the guy there is the long haul. New Orleans.
Yeah, I think they're pretty happy with Bridgewater as
I don't know.
the upcoming person, but obviously that's TBD. I'm not super confident in that aspect, but my guess would be that being Sean Payton and that sort of team that's always been so offensive and quarterback focused, and my guess is that Bridgewater is there in a really specific way. They've never really garnered, a quarterback, a backup that I think they really loved, or somebody that they were trying to sort of groom just in case something happened to Breeze. And I think this is the first one where it seems to me that he's the guy that hopefully, going forward in the next year or two whenever Drew decides to hang him up. But that'd be my guess.
See, here's kind of where it gets fun is if the Eagles exercise the option on Nick Foles, if Foles is on Philadelphia's roster as of the 25th day of the league new year, which is February 15th, or starts February 15th, so 25 days after that, Nick Foles gets a 5-day window to extinguish the option by giving written notice to the Eagles and paying them $2.5 million, essentially making him a free agent.
Oh, interesting.
So he could theoretically hit the open market, but is he getting $20 million from a team? I mean, Sam Bradford got $20 million from a team.
But he'll get more than 1 year, though. I mean, it would be, and I would assume there'd be probably more than 1 year of a guarantee attached. So,
but I mean, he could
say like a 3-year
he could
deal,
sit on the
right?
bench this year and make $20 million
Oh, I understand.
and not get hurt.
That's true.
Or
You know
if
what I'm
Wentz
saying?
gets hurt, then.
I wonder if Wentz gets hurt, then he becomes a starter
Right.
again in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's the tough part to weigh the option. I don't know, how old is he exactly?
He is
Nick Foles?
29. He'll be 30 when the year starts.
My guess he would lean on the side of sort of the guaranteed contract, knowing that he at least has something in his career. That because this will be the last, I think, good push of a career here. I think most people can't expect to play into their late 30s, almost 40, like these other guys that we've talked about. But that would be my guess, is that he would want to go for more of the known commodity, know that he has 2 or 3 years somewhere and he's the main guy, and obviously they're going to certainly go with him. Any team that's going to pay almost $20 million for a quarterback over multiple years, or even if it's even a little less than that. Maybe he could be a fully guaranteed contract guy. I don't know. I mean, if Kirk Cousins
That would
can
be
get
surprising.
yeah, but I mean, it was surprising when Cousins got one. So
That was not. He was the creme de la creme. He was the belle of the ball. Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with the way he plays or not,
I don't agree with it.
He was
yes.
the belle of the ball during that free agent class. He was.
I understand.
And eventually you knew somebody was going to get it. And if you paid him he's getting paid $29 million a year, and he's for 3 years guaranteed. That's not as lofty as an investment as it sounds. You know what I'm saying? They have a 3-year window to go balls to the wall, and so far year one hasn't worked for the Minnesota Vikings. 2 teams I actually believe are kind of wild cards. We talked about Jacksonville. That's an obvious destination. But 2 teams I believe are wild cards are 1, the Denver Broncos, and 2, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Both of those make sense in my mind.
Yes, I've got Denver written on here too. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, my feelings of their current starting quarterback. So,
But that's the question: is there any out in their current contract with Case Keenum?
1 year, I believe he's got 1 year that they have to pay him. I believe this upcoming year.
Well, he only had a 2-year contract. He's already satisfied 1.
I thought he had 3, and he was
he had
guaranteed 2.
2-year, 36.
Oh, well then maybe there is an out.
That's what I'm saying. What if there's an out?
Oh, there could be. I thought it was a 3. Then I
be like
was
a
mistaken.
contract loophole
Then
that
I was
they have.
mistaken. Then okay, fair enough. Well then, yeah. If there's then that's even more so that Denver would make.
I mean,
a
if
lot
there's
of
an
sense.
out there, it could make sense. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if there's anybody who's swing and miss on quarterbacks, it's
It's
one
definitely
of the best
Denver.
of all time.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think they still feel like they're in this right now to make a push. I think that Denver
Yeah.
feels like this is still their time.
They could cut him. If I'm reading this contract right, they could cut him and take a $10 million dead hit.
Well,
Yeah. Well,
that's a good
okay.
chunk, but
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That maybe it's worth it. I'm not sure. I don't see. Obviously, I prefer to have Nick Foles over Case Keenum, but I'm not quite sure how much you do gain. Him having to go in there and obviously, learn a new system and such. It's going to take a little bit of time, but
it is. But
I mean, he's a better option, I think, than Case Keenum in general.
I would agree.
just
Yeah.
generally speaking. And I'm certainly not a Case Keenum fan. So I mean,
He's
that's,
21. He's $21 million against the cap this year. If you cut him, it's $10 million dead. So yeah, he made $15 million last year and $21 million in a 2-year, $36 million contract. And he makes $1 million for every time he wins a playoff game. Just thought I'd throw that in there for you.
Wow.
And then maybe he can get cut and go back to Minnesota and save him.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Wouldn't it be? He goes back, signs as a backup, and then
It's entirely possible that would happen.
Kirk Cousins gets hurt, and then Case Keenum
totally
takes
see that happening.
the savior.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh goodness!
Oh, it's fun to play the what if.
Don't be a big national game too, where there's then the blowing of Case Keenum and the showing of the previous couple of years ago.
Keenum against
it'd
the
be
Bears.
terrible. It'd be
Who
terrible.
comes out alive?
Yeah, it's crazy. But, I said we'd get away from it, but, let's get back to the games. I mean, Brady and Belichick and company and the Patriots are making their 8th straight AFC Championship game appearance. I don't care if you hate the Patriots, love the Patriots. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. That's hard to do.
It's crazy to do. I mean, even if you're the 1 or 2 seed every time, you still got to win that one playoff game. You still got to make the playoffs and probably at least be a 3 seed or better and move on from there.
But, I mean, not even that. It's just like in an age where you're almost handcuffed to sometimes pay players, Patriots have gone the opposite. They've said, look, if my favorite case in recent years is Jamie Collins. Mm-hmm. Jamie Collins basically went all Rick Ross on Belichick and said, fuck you, pay me. And he said, fuck you, enjoy Cleveland.
That's true.
Who paid him.
I remember that, yeah.
But, I mean, it seems like there's a concrete core. You have Brady, you have Edelman, which was Welker, which was, the Moss. And then on defense, I mean, God, they just plug and play, it seems. I mean, who would be the defensive stalwart? Devin McCourty? I mean, he's the only guy I think has played on all the teams.
Patrick Chung's been there a while.
But he went to Philly. He went to Philly for a little bit, too.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think, you're talking about, obviously there's more credit to go around than just Brady and Belichick, but they're the staples, even Josh McDaniels has, in this time, has gone on and, tried to be a head coach and yada, yada this. But, I saw something the other day that kind of intrigued me because you're the basketball guy, Tony Johnson. And, this came up on a topic of debate, and the better accomplishment or the more fitting accomplishment or whatever, the greatest accomplishment, it was Brady making 8 straight AFC title games or LeBron making 8 straight finals appearances.
Yeah, it's a tough comparison, across sports, certainly. My first instinct is that we're talking about one person going to 8 finals of a sport and the other going to 8, of their conference finals. So certainly I think you would weigh more on the side of the one that's the actual finals.
Sure.
But the other thing that I think needs to be said is the quarterback position is so important and so vital and moves the needle so much in the game of football that it to me, sways the option. I think there are going to be many more times where you can get away with LeBron, having more of a mediocre game or, being, poor on defense, and then, other teammates certainly can pick up the slack, and, a couple guys can score 20, 25 points, and you can still win games. Where if the quarterback plays badly, at any of these juncture, during the playoffs, it's just tough to win a game. So. Sure. I err on the side. It's. I don't have a good answer for you. I hate to be that guy, but again, both very impressive.
Not a very decisive co-host.
Yeah, well,
but you hit it on the head. You hit it on the head. I think without realizing it, you hit it on the head when you said if a quarterback has a bad game, one game,
right,
you're out.
Yeah, such an important position.
If LeBron has an off night, they're 7-game series.
Exactly.
LeBron has an off night, they can still win the series 4-1.
Exactly.
And
worst case scenario, 4-3, yeah.
And and I look at the 8 straight finals. Of course, it's a fantastic accomplishment. But from what I know of basketball, let's look at the East for the last 8 years.
Right.
Come on.
Pretty bad, except for two teams. Probably.
In fairness, the AFC East has also been very poor.
The AFC East, yes, but people still had to make the playoffs and beat them. The last team to beat them in the playoffs. I
understand.
The last team to beat them, before the AFC title game, I think was like the Jets, who were in the AFC East.
Sure, no, I get it, but they've had some relatively easier divisional games versus some of the other divisions.
Yes, but let's not sugarcoat it. Peyton Manning had a pretty easy division too when he played for the Colts. The Titans, Jaguars, and Texans weren't very good.
Oh,
back
for
in
sure.
Those days.
Yeah,
with the exception of a decent team here and there.
Yes, I agree. But that's a separate topic, and I totally agree with that. That's a huge reason why Indy won a lot of games.
And the thing is, and you can't 100%. Blame the Patriots for the rest of their division sucking. It's not like they're telling them to suck.
No, but that's the argument with the East being bad in the NBA. Is that you can't, yeah.
But you're right. And the thing is it only takes 2 to 3 guys to make a team in the NBA. Look what we're doing in the NBA.
For sure.
The big 3s.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
And the big 4 over in Golden State. Actually, it could be the big 5 here coming up really soon. Yeah, Brady's 1 of 53. And again, all it takes is look at, what's the team? The Saints. The Saints last year. Drew Brees played a perfect game against Minnesota, and whoever the fuck fucked up that tackle screwed it over for him.
Right.
So, I mean, one of 52 other guys could effectively, to use a hockey phrase token, Brady's got a little puck luck.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to say. It's more impressive that Brady has the 8 straight AFC championship run because the luck versus skill factor in sports. Basketball is the most skill-based sport.
Skill will eventually catch up, yeah.
The most skill-based sport because you can control who's on the court more frequently as well as all that. You can have all 5 players play the whole game, and it could be all 5 of your starters. Essentially.
Well, and the thing is and LeBron James's input to a team proportionately is 20%. Obviously, we know his production is way more than that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Tom Brady's input to a team is 1 divided by 53, whatever that number comes out to.
It is, but yeah.
But he's obviously his number production-wise because he holds the ball every time.
It does.
But he
relies on the running back.
He doesn't hold the ball on defense. LeBron's on defense.
Yep.
So the question I have really is, okay, so the 8 straight finals. What I'm saying is where I'm looking at this part is not LeBron with the Cavs, but LeBron with the Heat. And you talked about it. If he had an off night, Dwayne Wade will put up 30. Or Chris Bosh.
That was a really good team, those collection of teams.
Right. So I feel like sometimes the weight of LeBron's necessity on those teams, at least those 4 teams, was far less than it was on the 4 with the Cavaliers.
100% agree. 100% agree. That's why it's such a good talking argument.
Does it diminish
conversation?
His 8 straight finals, especially when I think he won, 3 of them?
I wouldn't say diminish per se. I think it's just you have to put it in perspective. You have to think about all of these teams that he was on and what exactly happened. So no, I wouldn't say. I don't think diminish is the right word. It just you have to just understand the composition of the team. That's all.
Could Miami, if LeBron James never existed, take yourself back to what was that 2010 through 13? Could Miami have made the finals with the roster constructed minus LeBron James?
Possible.
And could the roster constructed of the New England Patriots make the finals without Tom Brady?
I mean, if we just take an average quarterback, yeah. I mean, it would seem very unlikely that would happen.
I mean, even take a tier quarterback who's a little like Stafford or Phillip Rivers. Mm-hmm. Take that tier 2 quarterback. Matt Ryan. Could Matt Ryan push that team?
Well, certainly coaching. I mean, we the coaching staff, obviously led by Belichick, and some of the schemes and the things they come up with certainly would go a long way with some of these quality quarterbacks you're mentioning. I'm not great with hypotheticals, so I don't really know. I don't think about them very often. It's tough to say. I like some of your names better than others. Like Stafford I don't like as much as Matty Ice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean clearly all of these people do take a back seat to Brady. The people that you've mentioned, there's no question. Scheme helps, but again, they've constructed a team specifically around Brady because of his skill set. That, as you said, they've been kind of plugged and played a lot of these, the quote skill position players, and they've plugged and played a lot of second and third wide receivers over the years. Certainly a revolving door with running backs, although a little bit more consistency recently. When James White's been there now for a while, but. Yeah, I would say that you construct your team around that, and you wouldn't have been able to do that if you had somebody like Matthew Stafford or Ryan. They would have had to use more picks on offensive players. They would have had to spend more money maybe on a running back or something like that. So certainly it's helped them construct the roster the way it is as well. It's one of those things it's hard to think about because him being there has allowed Belichick to construct the roster this way. So,
and not only him being there, but him not forcing the franchise to pay him $30 million.
Yeah,
I mean he could be a quarterback that says give me 50 and he's still a deal.
Right. Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
He'd still be underpaid. Yeah, no question, no doubt about it.
I mean, just
that.
like LeBron could command half your salary cap and he's still underpaid.
Yeah, how much value?
LeBron could command half the revenue sharing in the NBA and still be underpaid. I mean, he is the NBA.
Yeah, it is amazing how much value he probably brings. Yes, I've been saying that for a while too. He should be paid like 100+ easily,
and he is through everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean,
but it's kind of funny the way you think about it that way. And Brady the same way. I mean, Brady is grossly underpaid for the value that he brings.
Yeah, and he brings that upon himself because he was obviously cool with it. Because Giselle makes him paid just right. she's getting, 3 times his salary.
Sure, and he's a team player, and he understands that he wants to win. I mean,
Sure.
that's
and
to
that's what
win,
he said. All I care about is wins, and he's proven it. Any sports athlete can say I care about wins, but him to sit there and go, I'll take $18 million when guys are making double.
Yeah, for sure.
And as long as that $18 million is being used to further better the team. And in some cases, you could question Belichick whether he's actually bettering the team, because sometimes he likes to shop in the bargain bin. And that's where sometimes when they don't come through, people start to question, why are you shopping in the bargain bin? But
hard to argue with the results.
It's hard to argue with a long-term sample size, but there are some times when the offensive line looks suspect or the wide receivers look suspect. But I mean, it's like you said, hard to argue with results.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Especially over a long period of time. If it was 2
years,
I wouldn't care. But 20 years, I mean, come on.
I actually heard this on the radio, an interesting stat. No team in the NFC has made the playoffs the last 3 years.
Oh, one
consecutively.
Team
one team.
I did not know that, no.
That's crazy, right? Like, does
seem
shake up and turnover.
Surprising.
I mean, we know the Lions don't, but other than that, I mean, you would think somebody has success. I mean, you have the 2 teams in there now. Obviously, Breeze has made playoffs, but 3 straight in the last 3 years has been different complements of NFC playoffs.
And Green Bay's been a little unlucky with some Aaron Rodgers injuries, but yes, certainly.
Yeah, but even this year they didn't make it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, last year with the collarbone, obviously that was a situation.
That was a big factor, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just crazy to think. I mean, how much turnover. I mean, there's not even a team in the NFC that's made 3 straight playoffs, and here we're talking about the Patriots making 8 straight AFC championship games.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can testament to the AFC East, and I get it, and it's just...
I'm just saying it helps. It's a contributing factor,
yes,
that's all.
Of course it does. Yeah. But, I mean, like I've talked about the parity in the NFL, I mean, every year how weak the AFC East is, but every year the Dolphins seem to beat them. Every year the Dolphins seem to beat them in Miami. Yeah.
Incredible.
And every once in a while the Jets get them. The Bills are the ones that never get them. I think he's like 31-1 against them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, just imagine that domination. So, anyways, it was just one of those things I thought about. I kind of wanted to get your all's takes on a better accomplishment, LeBron or Brady. Both are great, but I would give the nod to Brady, even though it's not the Super Bowl. If it was the Super Bowl, there'd be no contest. But for me, LeBron, just basketball alone, one player's contribution out of 5 starters, and just the East. You talk about the AFC East, but the Eastern Conference just being what it's been the last.
Plus, you have to play 7 games
years.
for a series, so you have a lot more control in hand.
And again, in a 7-game series, talent normally supersedes. In one game, ball bounces the wrong way, you're out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, all right, let's switch gears here, move to the college ranks. We got a couple things to talk about in college. You guys want to go with Kyler Murray or Clemson first? What's your brain focused on?
Oh, okay.
Kyler Murray?
All right, let's go Kyler Murray. And he's obviously the hot topic all over the news outlets in that he has now declared for the NFL draft after what I'm guessing is Major League Baseball's putrid attempt to keep him. And again, he's still going to go to spring training, but my guess is that if he truly wanted $20 million, Billy Bean and Brass went over there and tried to do anything but give him $20 million.
Right.
So now that's being said, we can talk about it from a baseball perspective. I mean, a lot of players who are both football and basketball are saying, dude, stick with the bat. Don't pick up a football because of obviously the guaranteed money and the quality of life. However, initially, I've looked at it. If Kyler Murray is a first-round pick, he can actually make more guaranteed money playing football in his initial contract.
Very much so, especially if it's a top 10 or 15 pick, which I know people are like, well, 5'9" quarterback, but look, this is what's happening right now. This is what's happening in the NFL. It's like a perfect
everything's a gamble.
Kismet time, yes.
I think he goes top 10 when he does get drafted.
He probably does. That's how crazy it is, yeah.
I disagree. But
he shouldn't. I mean, I'm with you. But I think he will. I
think he will.
Someone will do something crazy.
I think once they come out with that prop, I think I'm going to smash.
Trubisky went 2. He went 2 overall. He started like 9 games in his career.
Yeah, but Trubisky's not 5'9".
He plays like somebody that should be 5'9".
You know who's in the top 10 that would probably take him?
The Bucks?
Giants.
No.
Jacksonville.
Maybe.
Lions.
Tom Coughlin,
No.
I don't feel like he'd roll the dice.
Lions, I could see. Raiders would be one possibly.
Raiders would be interesting because actually they talked about it. Raiders would be interesting because he could actually be a two-sport athlete. When the Raiders come to Vegas,
Yeah.
the AAA team for the Oakland Athletics is the Las Vegas Aviators. So while he plays AAA baseball, he can also play for the Las Vegas Raiders,
Yep.
who just actually broke ground on their team headquarters in Henderson, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I saw there's just a news blurb on it. Yes.
Yeah.
So, no, my opinion is I think that based on a
Broncos.
lot of what you said, yeah, I mean I think you
Broncos
should.
won't take him.
I think you should choose football.
John Elway cannot afford to strike out on another quarterback.
He's been doing it for the last decade.
You want to talk about a two-quarterback system? Put Josh Allen and Kyler Murray in Buffalo.
Oh, that'd
There
be
you
interesting,
go.
yeah.
I can't see.
Well, the Bills are projected to draft Josh Allen out of Kentucky.
Yeah, that'll make for some interesting. That'll make for some weird jerseys. I don't see anybody in the top 10. Again, obviously you can trade, but I mean Arizona is probably going to stick with Rosen unless Michael Bidwell is just that dumb. He's just going to give the keys to the kingdom to Cliff Kingsbury, who may trade Josh Rosen. San Francisco's not doing it. The Jets aren't doing it. Oakland, as much as we talk smack about John Gruden, I don't think he's doing it. He likes the vet quarterback. He doesn't like the young guys.
I don't see Carter being with Oakland.
Right, but it doesn't mean it's going to be Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, look at everything that John Gruden did in Tampa. He went vet. Brad Johnson, Jeff Garcia. I mean, that's what he did. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to beat his head against the wall repeating those mistakes, but the Giants, I can't see the Giants taking him.
Maybe, but
And again, with Tom Coughlin, the more I think about it, Jacksonville, no. I don't see anybody inside the top 10. I don't even see a fit for him anywhere. The only really place I see a fit for him, honestly, and that's only because I think he's washed up, is Carolina.
okay.
I think Cam Newton's been beaten so much he's past his prime. I think Carolina, if they want to implement the same style of offense, I could see them doing it. I could see them drafting him. Other than that, I don't see him anywhere. Miami, I think he'd fail.
I think he doesn't seem like he would be a good fit for
Anywhere.
mostly in the NFL. But someone will take a risk. Someone will do it.
Not in the first round.
Yes, Tim Tebow in the first round. Like how many? There's just random shit happens in the NFL draft. That's why I don't try to predict things.
Tim
I
Tebow
don't
made
know.
a lot more sense than you think, though, I think.
No. What? No.
Tim Tebow made a lot more sense.
Why?
He was taller. He was a
Okay.
left-handed quarterback.
He has no arm.
He did
And
have-
he takes 9 seconds to throw the ball.
No, he didn't. Either
Takes
way.
a
Took 7
long
and a half.
time to throw the ball.
I
One of the
will.
longest windups
I'll go out on
ever.
a limb and say he doesn't go top. That's not even a limb. I'll go out on a limb and say he doesn't go top 20. He may go to a team that has no interest in really needing him right away, and let him go play minor league baseball.
New England.
I can't see. I mean, they drafted Brissett, but they're still a little different.
Crazy things happen. Cliff Kingsbury is a head coach in the NFL, and he failed at Texas Tech. The things that I've learned to not try to figure out what people do, because there are a lot of franchises that are completely stupid. And this is exactly where we're going. We're going with young offensive minds that are just being creative. And
But I mean, there's quality franchises right now that are drafting in the top 20. It doesn't mean they're stupid. I mean,
yeah, not everyone is stupid, but many are. Many are. That's one of the reasons why we see some of the
do you
same
think
teams.
the greatness of some teams almost magnifies your vision of other teams being stupid? I mean,
Maybe.
you're probably still in the camp that, Kirk Cousins was the better deal than Case Keenum.
I don't like either one of them. I dislike both. I wouldn't have paid either one. They're both not starting quarterbacks, in my opinion.
Well, you had to get somebody.
Okay.
They couldn't draft a team. They couldn't draft a quarterback with the window that they have.
They had quarterbacks in the roster already. I don't know.
Well, they didn't. They had left all their quarterbacks last year.
I thought they had
Keenum, Bridgewater, and Bradford all became free agents.
Well, okay. I mean, you don't have to pay somebody a ton of money. Like you can pay Teddy Bridgewater a lot less than.
I agree. Teddy Bridgewater should have stayed, but they gave up on him fast.
Right. So again, bad franchise. Like that's what I'm saying. Like these people, they don't know what
Well,
they're
he's
doing.
not starting anywhere else. It's not like they're not a terrible franchise. I mean, he couldn't beat Sam Darnold.
But is that a good pick?
Couldn't beat Josh McCown.
Are those good picks? Like I don't believe in any of these things.
Apparently, somebody in Todd Bowles is fired now, but apparently Todd Bowles believes that Teddy Bridgewater couldn't beat those guys unless his hand was forced to start Darnold. Which
it's not. He's not making decisions. He's not making personal decisions. Todd Bowles
should be. He's the head freaking coach.
I'm not saying he should, but that's not how these things work. The GMs are dominating NFL football now. Have you not noticed?
It's the money invested is what dominating football.
But the GMs have way more say. There are coaches that are leaving teams, like Gary Kubiak, who we might talk about, that is leaving a team because he can't have his own staff. It is the most ridiculous thing.
He's not the coach.
But he's going to run the offense.
So what?
The coach is not making this decision either. It's the weirdest thing. Kingsbury isn't hiring his own staff.
Because John Elway is Kubiak's buddy. So what the hell happened there?
Kitchens isn't even hiring all his own staff.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, why would you make me the cook and not let me buy the groceries?
I'm not, because it doesn't make any sense. Because these franchises don't know what they're doing. That's the whole point. Is these GMs?
They're trying to make money. Whoever's going to sell the jerseys and stuff like that, marketing and all that.
We're talking about coaches now, though. I mean, we're talking.
Coaches have way less power than they ever have. Ever.
I agree. And that's due to
it makes no
marketing.
Sense. Yeah. I'm not saying I don't agree with it. I think it's really stupid. That's my whole point. I don't like it.
The coach that's running the team, in theory, should have more say of what players they're trying to get.
Yeah, it should be going the opposite way. Instead of they're getting less, they should have more say.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they should sit there in the front office. Okay, let's say Vic Fangio and John Elway, and Vic goes up to John and says, "Hey, I need, I don't know, defensive end X. Do what you got to do with the financials." And instead, John Elway is coming down and saying, "Here's defensive end Y. Make it work."
And I'm going to just basically be in charge of hiring offensive coaches, essentially.
And that's, you're right. Okay, I mean, that's just a terrible mindset. And then,
right. Then why are you hiring Vic Fangio as a head coach? I don't understand.
Then why are you hiring anybody as a big head coach? Just pull the Pat Riley and get your fucking ass down there on the sidelines.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, somebody that should be able to do both sides of the ball.
That's also, I mean, I don't know if that's it doesn't almost feel like every franchise. It feels like franchises who have marquee general managers.
Yeah, well, okay.
And now Peyton Manning wants to be a general manager.
I don't know. Arizona doesn't have a marquee general manager, and he has somehow stayed throughout all of this. The guys continue to make mistakes.
But I mean, they weren't bad. Yeah. They weren't bad until last year.
They weren't great, though.
They were. They were a playoff team, and their worst year was 8-8 when Carson Palmer got hurt. I mean, they were making playoff teams. They were making playoffs.
They were, but
I mean, before Carson Palmer got hurt, I think they were like 7-4, and then he got hurt, and they finished 8-8, and Bruce Arians left, and he made a bad hire with Steve Wilkes, and now they're bad. I mean, they haven't been bad for a while. I mean, St. Louis, which is now LA, and San Francisco have been the bad teams. San Francisco has been consistently bad, but not Arizona. Arizona and Seattle were the creme de la creme of that division.
Yeah.
A lot of bad GMs out there. A lot of bad franchises.
I agree. Well, it's not that they're bad GMs. It's just they're GMs that are trying to play. They're GMs that were like when I was growing up. They played Madden and they thought just because I killed it in franchise mode, I can be a fucking general manager.
Well,
which is cool.
I remember when that first came out. That was pretty fun to play.
I loved it, but it doesn't make me a general manager. I can go to school for business and finance and economics, and then I can go sit out there and say, okay, I want this guy, this guy, this guy. But if I want to be successful, I hired the guy who knows more football than I do.
Yeah, and again, I mean that makes sense, but
I mean, there's no general manager in New England.
In this league, sense doesn't really matter that much.
But that's the thing. Everybody says copycat league, copycat league, copycat league. Bill Belichick is the coach and general manager. There is no general manager. Why are you not emulating that? Let the chef pick his groceries.
There may not be a lot of people as good as him. I mean, that's probably part of the issue.
And you're right. There are not a lot of people as good as him, but you're never going to find out if you just keep forcing players down their throat.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. It's just you're talking about with the Kubiak. I mean, they said that there's a difference in opinion. I mean, is that with him and Fangio or is that with him and Elway? Because Elway is his buddy. Nothing's really come out because he obviously took a special advisor role in Minnesota. I mean, so much so that he left the franchise.
Yep.
He was a special advisor in Denver. He left. It has to be an Elway problem.
I think Elway is immense and all-encompassing power. And whatever he says goes, and if there's a disagreement or something happens, it's just gone. And next. That's the way it seems to work in Denver, and it has since he's directed football operations.
He's been around for, 5 or 6 years? Maybe a little longer than that?
I think a little longer, yeah.
But, at some point, how do you fire John Elway?
It's going to be tough to do, which is why there's not a lot of great Denver Broncos fans, but I do have a close friend that is one, and that's why a lot of them were very much against this, even people that loved him, as a player, because they knew that if he struggles or if he fails, like a lot of ex-players do fail as GMs, it's a problem because it's hard to get rid of him. That's exactly the reason why a lot of Broncos fans didn't want this to happen. It's like, why, don't go into business with your friends, type of thing. Yeah. In general,
or don't live with them, or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So, no, I'm with you. It's a bad spot that the Broncos are in.
All right, we got off with the Kyler Murray. Let's get back on with the Kyler Murray. Sure. And if you're Kyler, you've already said you choose the football. But how does an agent? The agent's got to be the one working here.
I would expect so.
He's got to be working these teams, saying, where are you thinking Kyler's at?
Yep, I'm guessing they have a lot better idea of probably where he will go than we, obviously know. And, that would be my guess, is that it's probably a known commodity. There's a few teams that are very strongly interested, and there's always this fear that if you let somebody go, then somebody else, will pick them up, and everyone's, crazy about
shit
quarterbacks.
On you for the next 20 years.
Exactly. So, his football stock is obviously never going to be higher than it is now. I just think that it makes the most sense. And baseball-wise, again, if we're looking further down the road, it's just the competitiveness with the amount of baseball players there are, and being a starting player on one of the teams is just so difficult to do. I don't care how talented you are.
Your team has your rights for a while. You don't really secure that big deal. Look at Manny Machado is about ready to. I think he's like a couple years away from 30, and he's finally getting his big deal.
Finally, exactly. And he's
Bryce Harper, same thing.
And these are the cream of the crop, big time players.
Is saying he's going to become, and that was actually when I was heard one of the reasons why the A's didn't give him $20 million, because if they gave him that kind of money, they almost would have had to have forced their own hand in putting him in the MLB. And if everything's true, he's a phenomenal baseball player. But it doesn't mean he's going to make the major league.
Not at all. There's a lot of phenomenal baseball players.
But when you're paying a guy to play in minor league baseball, you're paying him $20 million. That's a little different. You might have to force your way. So
I'm sure he's got a good chance to be a very good player. I'm not saying he doesn't, but
I'd love to see him go to Oakland and kind of work that out with the Aviators here in Vegas, be able to play. But even Dion was like, because Dion is the last real two-sport athlete of my recollection.
That's the only time I want to hear what Dion has to say is probably a subject like this, to be honest.
Yeah, he's an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially a guy who played for I think at the time he was playing for the Falcons and the Reds. And then he was playing for the Falcons and the Braves, and I think then he was playing for the Cowboys and the Reds.
Yep.
Most of the time he wasn't playing in the same city. This guy could play at least minor league ball in the same city. Summerlin has the Aviators, and we know where the Raider Stadium is. It's right down the street, so he could buy a house in Southern Highlands and be good. It's kind of right in the middle. But another thing he could do is really he could go play football. If it doesn't work out and he's not injured, go back to baseball. I wonder if there's some kind of deal where he can say, "Hey, look, Oakland, the A's, I'll let you have my rights for extended period of time, but for the first 4 years, I'm not playing baseball, or I'm not going to do. I can sign a 10-year deal with you, and if football doesn't work out, I come back and we play. We play baseball, and if football does work out, we terminate the contract. You don't even have to. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, I don't know how it all works.
I'm curious if there's anything.
If he's smart, he would hook up with Nick Foles' agent. That got him the crazy deal where he could get $20 million guaranteed on this year.
But Kyler Murray hasn't won a Super Bowl yet.
Yes.
If Kyler Murray wins a Super Bowl, I'm sure he could hook up with a sweet deal like that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. So, anyways, that's all the time we got. I want to thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, VGK Pop Sockets, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, and Vegas Puckline Apparel. I want to thank the Tonys for being on, and we appreciate you listening. Catch us on Twitter, @Vegas Squares, Tony's @TokenTony89, and you don't have Twitter.
Nope, nothing yet. We'll maybe see if we get into the social media craze here, but
Yeah, maybe you can get all nasty on people like I do.
I don't think I can do that.
You can. You find it in
Oh yeah, I mean, I can. It's possible, but
search yourself. You know it to be true.
Maybe we can find that guy from the Santa Fe Sportsbook.
oh, that guy.
Oh, the old guy, Niggy.
Yeah.
But see, the problem is I have to find something where like the passion and like the extremeness can come out. I don't get extreme with a lot of, I don't know, opinions and things like that in the sports world. I just kind of let things go. Being a sports bettor, you're used to, seeing things in a couple different ways. You're a UC, you're a UCF
That's the only team,
fan.
though.
No, I understand, but I mean that is still something, though. I mean, you are really passionate about it, and so it's always going to bring out the best and maybe the worst sometimes. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for us. We appreciate you listening. We'll catch you on the next one.